Hey, what's going on? It's Jason Lucchese, and welcome back to another video. We've got some amazing content that we're going to share with you. We've been getting asked a lot, especially on the video that we did on being able to connect with tired landlords not receiving rent right now. Like, who is the buyer for that? And we're going to hop into that here on today's video so that you know who the buyers are. Because right now, and I'm alongside Mr. Michael Bretthauer. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here, Jason. It's got some exciting stuff to talk about.
Absolutely. And today, because the video that we did, I'm looking at right now, it got over like 1,000 views. For our channel, that's pretty good. So I want to just explain to you right now, one of the biggest things, especially like hurdles right now, is we've got the election coming up, which is going to be, it's going to be pretty big. I'm not sure, who's going to win or whatnot. We're not going to talk politics on the channel. That's never a good thing. And one of the things I want to talk about here is, yes, whoever wins, it's going to really dictate what's going to happen in the future. Either we have another shutdown or not. I think either president, if it's current president or if we have a new president, I think, this is just me, we might potentially have another shutdown, and that is just dependent on the whole COVID thing. So that could be a complete thing that happens. So I just want to prepare you guys up front for what we're going to be discussing in today's video. So make sure you stay on until the whole thing, and make sure if you're not a subscriber already that you become a subscriber, you give us a thumbs up on the video, because that would be greatly appreciated. Now, the big thing that happened not too long ago is the moratorium for being able to evict people has already been put in place. Now, what that means is a lot of people right now that are not going to be able to be evicted, that's going to go well into 2021. Probably, Mike, from what I'm hearing, it's going to be May or June for what's going to be happening. Now, a lot of people are like, well, who's going to be our buyer on a property like that, especially if they're not paying rent? So right off the bat, we got to think about, well, let's find out. Let's talk to the homeowner first, the individual that wants to sell. So more than likely, it's going to be an investor. A lot of investors that are having trouble right now, because right now, from what it's been calculated, it's over like $5.6 million that hasn't been collected in rent across the country. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't think people are quite putting this into perspective on what's happening right now as far as landlords and rents and mortgages not getting paid, rents not getting paid and whatnot. There is a windfall of properties coming. There's a huge opportunity. So this idea of who am I going to find to buy this property, there's people waiting because they see it coming. They're waiting to get these properties. You just need to kind of get ahead of that.
Yeah, and here's a couple of things that I'm seeing that if you want to get ahead of this ball, like right now as you're watching this, and hopefully you're one of the individuals that received a notification of when we put this video out, because if you are, you're going to be able to hop on this much faster than somebody that will see this in a week. So one of two things is going to happen. The landlord's going to be in a very difficult spot. Maybe they have a mortgage on the property. Maybe it's private money. Maybe it's hard money. I really hope it's not private money, because then you're really kind of, in a really bad situation, and you're ruining a relationship with a potential private money lender that will want to do more deals with you in the future. So the things that you could be doing and thinking about as an investor, more than likely, some folks are going to have to do a short sale. So that could bridge the gap for a certain period of time, depending on who the lender is. So if you need to do a short sale on a property, this is going to be called a non-owner occupied property. This is a rental property. And the 5.6 million that I was talking about that's just in the single family residence niche. We're not talking about multifamily at this particular junction. So we're just talking about the single family standpoint. And short sale, that's going to take, depending right now, it's probably going to be quite a bit, especially we're in end of Q4, and a lot of banks, a lot of institutions, they could be servicing companies that are handling the negotiations for short sales. They're going to be backlogged quite a bit. So this is going to be somewhat of an issue for a very long period of time. And what could happen with the short sale is it could take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. It's much shorter compared to like 2009 to 2011, to where sometimes it could take 9, 12 months, 18 months. It's much faster than what it used to be. So with that being said, that's one option that we're seeing from individuals. And who's going to be the potential buyer on that? Well, we're going to already have somebody potentially lined up ready for that particular property. Because Mike, if we have somebody that, let's just say they owe $100,000 and the property's worth $130,000, and we could negotiate that property down. Let's just say we have the bank, they settle for $65,000 and we've got a property worth $125,000. Do you think we have somebody out there that would be willing to buy that particular property since its price, since essentially the as-is value is below 50%?
You know, to anybody that I've spoken with on the phone, that's ever joined our team or I've ever done business with, I'm always very careful to use the word guarantee. But I would, with a very high level of certainty, almost 99.9% guarantee, you would have a buyer that would have funds in hand before ever, even like in minutes, before ever seeing the property.
Yeah, because right now, what's one of the things that we're seeing, especially we're in several different markets. So Indianapolis, Grand Rapids, we're in certain parts of Louisville, Kentucky, St. Louis. What's the biggest problem that we're seeing right now with investors not being able to find?
The biggest problem I've seen right now is investors actually getting buyers upset because, you know, they both want a property that you have and you can only sell it to one person.
Yeah, the inventory is super low right now. Like we're seeing in a lot of the markets that we're in, even, you know, Jason Palliser, who's in, you know, a few markets as well. Like we're seeing properties go like retail. They're on days on market for less than 30 days.
Oh, weeks, sometimes a couple of weeks. It's not very long. And
like right now, if Mike wanted to sell his house because it's in a very desirable neighborhood, you'd probably have that property gone in
less than a week.
Yeah, probably in less than a week. Because as soon as you put that sign in the yard,
I wouldn't even need to put a sign.
Yeah,
up.
you might
I'd make
not.
a Facebook post, and I'd have a line of people, because it is a very desirable area. We've been putting some work into it. We've tossed around the idea of selling it, but like we've kind of talked about right now, we don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not in any hurry. But my point is, like, yeah, I've had people reach out about it. I've gotten text messages, I've gotten letters, and none of them have ever attended a blueprint, I could tell, because it's always the same letter over and over. But yeah, it would sell. I've looked on our street. Actually, there are some other properties on our street that have sold, and they've gone up quite a bit. So it's just cash. Some of them are even just cash transactions.
Yeah, because we're seeing hedge funds start to come in, like some of these areas. Like Mike's area would warrant, you know, a decent amount for rent. So a lot of hedge funds are coming in. They're wanting to gobble up properties that could bring in a decent rental income for their particular fund portfolio. So in this particular case, we've got buyers that would have no problem waiting the 3 to 6 months. They would have no problem putting in an offer, putting in earnest money deposit with us. We hold it. We don't cash it. We don't put it in anywhere. It would actually be sitting with our title company. And if for some reason we don't get the approval that we want, then there's different strategies that we can do at the particular case. But
well, we take them through a seller waltz. We identify, okay, you know, we didn't get the price that we want. Typically, this is where my buyer is. Unfortunately, you know, we know we're not able to buy every house that we talk to, but we do, again, going back to what we've said on other videos, we do try to be a solution for everybody that we do speak with, and you start identifying what else can we do here? You know, what else can be done? Maybe I don't even need to get this property under contract, which if you schedule a call, myblueprintcall.com, then you will know there are 2 strategies out of the 10 ways you don't even need to have that property under contract. So there is always a way. Price should never be the reason coming to terms. And part of that of price is a bank not coming in with the value you need. That's price.
Yeah, that is. And that's an easy thing that we could overcome. So short sale is one potential route. And that's going to be if the individual, the landlord, is in a very tough situation and they just need to get out. Maybe they haven't been able to pay since this whole thing started. Some people are working full-time jobs just to make it happen. Sometimes some of those folks too that, you know, got into the landlord business still working full-time jobs, maybe they lost their job. We had millions upon millions of folks lose their job when this all hit. So second option that we would be able to do, again, who's buying these properties? Well, we could also talk to landlords that might have some equity in the property, and they're just like, you know what? I am hemorrhaging right now. I just want to get out from underneath this property. I've gone months now without having any rental income coming in. So I'm all done. I just want to get rid of the property. Now you might be wondering, yeah, Jason, it might sound good. Maybe the person will sell to you at like 60% of what the as-is value is, but you still have a problem with the tenant. You're right, we do. Who's going to want to buy that property? Well, now we have another couple of options come in. We talk to the tenants. We try and be reasonable. If we're buying the property at a really good price, I'm going to use the same example with you, Mike. Property's worth $125,000. We're able to get it from the landlord, and we're not having to negotiate a short sale in this case. We get it for $60,000, Mike. And let's just say we've got an end buyer that's willing to pay $90,000 for the property because the property doesn't need any work. It's ready for a new tenant that's wanting to pay every single month their rental. They signed up, they owe rent, they should pay. You know, right now I know a lot of people are going through a difficult time, but you shouldn't put that burden on somebody else as well. If you have no place to go, then you need to talk to your landlord. You really need to talk to that individual, because what's going on is it's a cycle then. You stop paying, it becomes a problem for the landlord. The landlord then, if they have a mortgage, it becomes a problem for the mortgage company. So it's a ripple effect.
Well, then it's going to come back and hit you because the landlord's going to talk to somebody like us about selling their house, and that might mean you need to move. And you know, the landlord's, and it's the whole, you know, carpet out from underneath you thing, but that's not what the landlord's goal is. I guarantee you the landlord would much rather work with you rather than have to go through this process. But, you know, if it does come to that, there is somebody like us to provide a solution. So again, we're always about providing solutions. So if you can provide a solution to your landlord ahead of time before it gets to this point, you know, just like we're doing, hey, what can I do?
Yeah, and that brings me up to the point that I wanted to ask you, and I know I got sidetracked there. But we get under contract for 60, right, Mike? We have somebody that wants to buy it for 90. So we have a $30,000 spread there. But the thing is, the individual that wants to buy it from us is saying, hey, we need that individual out. So one of the options we could do, and if you were in the spot to where you were unemployed, you weren't able to make the rent, but I come to you, I'm like, hey, I know times are tough. You know, we've got COVID going on here right now. The economy was shut down for a long period. Millions and millions of people were out of a job. If I could give you some funds and to help bridge the gap right now, you know, let's just say I'm able to help you out and I'll pay for moving expenses, help you get to your next place. I'll help you out with, you know, maybe like 2 or 3 months of rent. Would that be something that would help you right now? Like you could get out from this situation and you could actually have money in the bank. You have food on the table. Would that be something right now that would be able to help you out? You know, I'm asking you, Mike. Do you think somebody in that spot would be like, oh gosh, this would help save my situation?
Well, I know it would, because I've had that conversation with folks where I've went up to the front door and, you know, unfortunately it's cold house. You know, they don't have the heat on because they're trying to save on electricity for whatever. I don't know. They have electricity, but the heat's not on. You know, they have kids in the house. There's toys kind of everywhere. And you have that conversation. Hey, you know, they're losing the house. And it's just now you got this situation with the tenant. They're not going to be able to stay. They're going to have to go. But it's, again, about you providing solutions, just like we did for the landlord. Now it's about providing solutions for the tenant. And yeah, I've had that conversation with folks, and they usually, yeah, that'd be really helpful. Why? Because they've got no money. And so you're going to help them move, which they know they need to do anyways. It's kind of one of the anxieties they've been having up to this point. Then finding a new place. Oh, you're going to potentially help me out with maybe a deposit or a couple months worth of rent. You know, it just kind of gauge this deal would be pretty sweet. So yeah, there's plenty of room for that. But make it easy for them. Be a solution for them. You're a solution for the landlord. Pretty soon you have references on all three. Maybe this person eventually comes back and wants to buy a house. They've got money and they remember that you invested and bought and sold houses and that you did seller financing deals and you kind of talked about that. And now they've got a job and they've got, you know, a decent amount of money saved up and they want to buy a house from the person that is always been a solution. This is how you fill up your pipeline.
Yeah, it's really all about, let's just be a little bit more nicer to one another. Let's have conversations with people. When we could have, good conversations, civil conversations, a lot can be done. You could talk to this individual, and instead of you making $30,000, you now make $25,000. Or maybe you're like, oh, Jason, I don't get those types of spreads in my market. Okay, well, let's just say you were making 15 and now you're making 10. $10,000 for a few hours of work, and you're helping somebody, you're helping multiple people actually. You're helping the tired landlord get out from underneath this problem property, and you're having the tenant go ahead and leave on a civil situation. You're helping them out move because, yeah, Mike, the anxiety is through the roof at that standpoint when you're having to worry about moving. How am I going to move all this stuff? I'm going to have to call Uncle Carl or whatnot to help me move my stuff, and I'm not sure if the truck's going to be handy. Now, there's also another situation here to where I've heard, and I know a lot of these landlords, not as I don't know them to where I would say they're friends, they're more like acquaintances. They've gotten in a tough situation and they're unable to pay the water bill for that particular property. Well, you know what happens once that water is all done? There's no water in the house. So some people are going to be forced in a situation where they're just going to have to move as well. I've heard that multiple times from multiple people that, hey, I'm unable to pay anymore. So that means utilities that I said I was going to pay for, I can't pay them anymore. So that's a situation in itself too. That's how some people are also leaving as well. So, we wanted to bring that up to you, who are the actual buyers in this case? Well, we've gone over several ways of getting cash buyers. It's really any cash buyer. Any cash buyer. You just have to talk to them, give them the step-by-step of what's going on and how you plan on rectifying it to where they could have a really good property.
Well, I hope you guys were taking notes, because that's the whole point of why we took it this route. The whole what you're putting together, the whole situation. Hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help landlords that are falling behind on their mortgage because tenants they're not able to pay, and then I'm also trying to help tenants that are not able to pay move out from the situation. Identify this. Okay, great. So when I start talking to cash buyers about properties, yeah, hey Jason, I was just reaching out to you. I saw that you bought a couple of properties down in such and such street, 10th Street or whatever, and I've been coming across a few similar properties. What I've been doing is a lot of folks I've been reaching out to, they're mostly landlords. They're having trouble keeping up with their tenants and their payments and whatnot. So I've been coming across a lot of these, and I'm going to have a few that are probably going to need to sell here soon. I didn't know if I'm not going to be keeping them all. I don't know which ones or whatnot, but I know if you might be interested in something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best way, in all honesty, to approach it. And that's who we're talking to nowadays, because we're finding, and we've gone over it in several videos, how to find the actual landlords, how to put together a list we've gone over. So we've gone over quite a bit for you. And I want to make sure that we cover this because it was something that Mike was getting emails on, I was getting questions on. So we just wanted to make sure that we were able to take care of it, because we know that this is something moving into Q4 and then going into 2021, it's going to be an absolute monster out there. So it's something that you need to know about, get ahead of the curve, because it's going to help you out quite a bit. So with that being said, if you liked and enjoyed today's content, make sure you give us a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber already, make sure you become a subscriber so that you can get notified of videos just like this when we release them, because if you could get ahead of the curve and not have to wait a week or two to get this information and you could become a subscriber, you're going to be in a much better spot financially and from a strategy standpoint. And make sure you hit that notification bell and leave a comment below of what you enjoyed about today's video. And I just want to hear from you. So put down a number, put down a number 1, put down a number 2. Let me know that you're here. Also too, I would love to know where you're from so that we might be able to do some deals together. So put down in the comment section where you're from, where you're doing business, and would love to hear from you. But other than that, I'm Jason Lucchese. Thanks for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have Mr. Michael Bredhauer with us. We'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye now.